Love this book. I love this book. I love it. Please read this. I loved this so much. I read it twice. Hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining me in my reading journey. I read some good books this month and I'm excited to talk about them. Here we go. Stats first, as always. 6 books, 2,263 pages. 3 were new authors, 3 are authors I've read from before, 4 are through audiobook, and 2 were read physically. Then we had 5 series and 1 standalone. We then had the genre, we got 1 poetry and 1 science fiction, 2 fantasy, 1 dark romance. Alrighty, let's start off with the dark romance. This is Beautiful Villain by Rebecca Kenney. This is a Great Gatsby retelling, or as I'm told, I have not seen The Great Gatsby. And now that I've read this book, I probably should go give it a go. But more of a reader than a movie watcher. So let me know down below if I should go watch that movie, if it's worth the time. But this book we're following our main character Daisy, and she has the ability of persuasion. And when she talks in a certain tone, she has more likely than not, she has the probability of persuading them to do something that she wants. And she comes across this billionaire Jay, who happens to have been her childhood sweetheart, and he's got some secrets, and she's wondering how he became so wealthy and kind of the mystery of that. And that's what the synopsis says, and what I bought this book thinking, that it was going to be this mystery kind of love story romance. But as I was reading more on the back, there is like a blurb from another author that kind of spoils what that mystery is. And I mean, I guess she put it on the back of the book, so it's not, I don't know, I guess it was supposed to be known, but it doesn't say that anywhere in the synopsis. So not really sure, but I'm going to keep that part a secret, because I do think that if I went into it not knowing that, I think it would have been a little bit more enjoyable or a bit more shocking. I didn't love this though. It was a 3-star. The reason I gave this 3 stars is, unfortunately, the writing was just not good. It started off good. Like, I was intrigued, I was entertained. She's trying to figure out who this mystery guy is, and she's also discovering her power. But as it went on, it wasn't necessarily getting worse, but like it just wasn't getting better at all. And the characters in here, this is an adult novel. There is spice in here, there were spicy scenes, but the characters talked as if they were freshmen in high school. It was just very immature, and like certain dialogue and phrases they would use was just very childish. And it just, like, if they talked as adults, then I feel like this would have been so much better. But on the other hand, like the trashy reality shows that, like, even though they're so bad, but like you can't help but watch, and it's just like stupid drama, but like you keep, watching the show even though you kind of don't want to. Like, that's what this book felt like. It was like I kind of wanted to keep reading to know, but it was like not good. There is a second one to this. At the end of this book, there was kind of part of me that wanted to pick up the second one and like finish out the series, but it's only been like 2 weeks since I've read this, and I've already forgotten most of it. I'm forgetting more stuff about it by the minute, and I don't know. I guess I just don't have any interest at this point in reading it. Like, I can't even really remember the like main plot line or what really happened at the end that made me intrigued for the next one. So I wouldn't say never, but probably not. Next up, we got Inward by Young Pueblo. This is a poetry collection, and the back says, "True power is living the realization that you are your own healer, hero, and leader." And this book started off really strong. I really liked a lot of the poetry in here at the beginning. As you could see, like halfway through, I like tabbed up almost every other page, and then the second half is just very sparse, almost no tabbing. Yeah, it really started out strong and then just kind of fell through. It did have a couple different sections in it, and let's see, I gave this 3 stars, and it looks like there was 5 sections. The second section, Union, I gave that one 4.5 stars. I really liked that section, but the other ones, not so much. So, nothing else to say about this. I do have a couple other poetry collections by this author and still plan to read those. I do like the writing, but I think it just kind of fell short for me at the end. Alrighty, third book up is System Collapse by Martha Wells. This is the last book in the All Systems Red series. From previous wrap-ups, as you know, this is a science fiction novel where we're following an AI robot and we're on his journey to find what he wants to do in life. And this one was the last one. So here's all of them together. And would I recommend this series? Yes, I definitely would. I really enjoyed this series. I loved following along with our sarcastic main character. And this one was no different than the other. How many are there? 1, 2, 6. So this is the 7th one. And each one follows kind of a mission or a side quest that they go on. And it's him kind of just figuring out different things in the world and meeting people and kind of making his way towards finding out what he wants to do in life. And this one followed another mission side quest, and I guess because the overarching plot of the series of him trying to figure out what he wants to do in life, the side missions kind of don't really have anything to do with that. So I guess on this one, because I knew it was the last one, I kind of wasn't caring about the mission they were on because it wasn't really like, I guess technically like important, I'd say. Like, I don't know, when the plot of him kind of figuring out what he wants to do, that's kind of, it ended good, but it wasn't as surprising or it wasn't a huge ending as I hoped for. I still would recommend this. I did give it 3 stars. It was still good, and I'm glad that I read the series. I'm glad to be finished with the series. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this for science fiction lovers. This would be probably more in the technology science fiction realm, so if you do like more tech, hacker, droids, drones, you know, just a bunch of techie stuff, I think you could definitely really like this series. The only thing about this series as a whole is I did have a harder time seeing the movie in my head with this series than I do with all of the other books that I read. When I read, I see the movie playing and I don't really see the words on the page. But this one, because maybe I'm just not a tech savvy person, I had a hard time visualizing all of these techie robot fictional things, and maybe that's a me problem, maybe that's an author problem, I don't know, probably a me problem, probably just because I'm not a tech person. But I didn't take away any stars for that, so I still am very glad I read it. Alrighty, next up we got A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. This book was super long. This is a textbook. This is like 600 pages. Yeah, 600 pages. And I didn't feel like it needed to be 600 pages. I'm not going to go too much into detail with this one. I did put out an entire reading vlog about this, so if you do want more of my feelings, go ahead and hop over there. But pretty much the long and short of it, I did feel like the slow burn in this was way too slow. And the middle of this book was just kind of dragging. I felt like some parts could have been cut out. It didn't, I don't know, feel that necessary to the plot. But I mean, overall, I did love our main character. She kind of went through this progression of character development. She was very depressed in the first book and at the beginning of this one, and it's her training and becoming more powerful and coming into her own and not letting people hold her back. So I did really like that arching plot with her. And I did give it a 4-star. I did like how it ended. I am intrigued to go on to the next book, but I definitely wish it was shorter. The last book I read in August was A Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. I loved this book. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Finally, a 5-star read for me. Oh my God. I really hope everyone out there who is a fantasy lover reads this book. If you like these two popular books, you would definitely like this book. And oh my gosh, it was so good. I was only supposed to read a chapter of this. It was like 8 o'clock at night. And I was like, let me just read a chapter and then I'll like keep going throughout the weekend. Well, no, this book had other plans for me. I could not put this down. And I read half this book in the first day. And if I didn't have to be somewhere the next day, I would have stayed up all night and read it in one day. But I had somewhere to be, so I had to put it down. But the next day, I finished it. I finished this book in 2 days. And then I couldn't stop thinking about this book the next day that I read it again. I have never done that before. I've only reread a book, maybe like 5 books in my lifetime have I ever reread, and it was like a reread that I did years after the first time I read it. But I loved this so much. I had to. I did skim a tiny bit in the middle, but oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. The feelings that this book gave me is why I read. This book is just amazing. And maybe other people out there won't think the same, but you can't convince me otherwise. So the plot of this book is this is a enemies to lovers romance book, dystopian fantasy world, and we're following our main character Arwen, and she has the ability to heal others. And when her brother gets into some trouble, she sacrifices herself in place of her brother. And once they discover that she's a healer, she becomes a prisoner in the Onyx Kingdom. And it's enemies to lovers, it's magical abilities, it's different kingdoms fighting, and there's magical creatures, fairies, witches, dragons, griffins. It has it all, and it was so good. The slow burn in this one was done so well. The slow burn in this one was dragging because I didn't feel like there was enough flirting and banter between the like middle times, whereas this one there was flirting, there was just such good banter back and forth, such like sarcastic remarks to each other, and they were just pining over each other, and it was just so good. And this is going to be a trilogy, so the second one I have bought and plan to read this month in September, and the third one comes out on October 8th, I think. So I cannot wait to continue reading. And as I said earlier, I did read this a second time, so I did film a reading vlog with all of my spoiler thoughts and feelings as I was going through the chapters. So I will put that out maybe this week or next week. I'm not sure. I'm still editing it and watching it through. But wow, this book was so good, and I'm so glad I picked this up and read it. And then I had my friend read it too, and she loved it. And just the feelings that this book gave is just it's those endings in books where you just kind of like stare off into space and you're just like you don't want to leave the world yet and you're just sitting there staring at a wall because you don't know what to do with yourself because it was so good. And there we have it, our 6 books or 5 books plus the reread for this month. We had three 3 stars and a 4 star and a 5 star. So not too bad. Nothing I hated, and I found a all-time favorite book. So you really can't go wrong with that. And my favorite song for the month of August was Lightning in a Bottle by James Smith. Such a good song. I'm going to try and link it down below instead of just name it down below in the description. So you can just click over and it'll like bring you straight to the song. But I'm not sure how to do that. So I guess you'll see down below if I figure it out. But thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.